WNGR. This is The Bottom Line. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into The Bottom Line here on 95.5 FM. You're listening to The Vibe here in Tigerville, 95.5 FM, WNGR LP. The Bottom Line with Brad and Cole. Good to be back after a long week. We had Monday off due to Martin Luther King Day. Brad, good to be back. Good to have you back. A lot of good games last week as far as college basketball. It was fun watching Duke on their losing streak, and they're still on it. So yeah, maybe it'll stay that way.
Clemson had a tough loss last night, but they hung in there. They were down big, came back, made it close. It's just hard to win that many games against that many good teams in a row. But they fought hard last night, and then Carolina came back late and won.
They did. And with the college basketball, quickly, as we're going to have a guest on here shortly in just a couple of minutes, but talking about college basketball, we'll try to get into a little bit more of it later. But, as far as we talked a little bit about it last week, but as far as our in-state schools, South Carolina and Clemson both, having a pretty good year, very good, in fact, especially South Carolina with a big win last night at Ole Miss. That win at Ole Miss last night kind of showed me that this South Carolina team, they're top three in the SEC, in my opinion, at least.
At least, because, they were down big late, like 9 points, a couple minutes left.
It was worse than that.
Yeah,
they were down. I was watching. They were down 11 points with 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go.
And past year's teams don't win that game.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. They came back to tie it and had the last shot and had a chance to win it in regulation.
Yeah, Cole, we saw them this weekend, and they played good. They didn't play great, but they found a way to win against Missouri. And honestly, I didn't think they were going to win last night, but they did.
The thing about it is, you talk about those old South Carolina teams. You talk about that old South Carolina team wouldn't have found a way to win last night. They wouldn't have found a way to win that game you were at against Missouri.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We thought they'd beat Missouri handily. They didn't. It was close, but South Carolina, held on and won. Question for y'all real quick, if you will. Is this Carolina team a team that can go far in the tournament? Obviously, if they get there, which they should, the way they're playing now, how much better competition will they play in the tournament than what they're playing now?
Well, it's all about matchups. The more they win, obviously they're going to help themselves.
Yes.
But there's still a long ways to go. They will be a tournament team unless something just catastrophic happens.
Right.
But if they could get a 5 or a 6 seed, which is highly reasonable.
That's pretty high for them.
But the way they're playing, that's where they're looking right now, you would think, in that range.
I haven't seen such a drastic turnaround for a program in 1 year in a very long time.
Well, see, last year you could see it coming. They were just a couple players away.
They beat Iowa State. That was a big one. Iowa State was 9 at the time.
Yeah,
they handled Ole Miss in the SEC tournament handily.
Yeah, they just didn't have the depth last year. This year.
The depth.
And the offensive production this year is far better than it has ever been under Frank Martin because of a guy like Dozier. He is
Dozier's a big one, but
so is Silva and the bigger Cobb? Yeah, Cobb. Kajinas, he's a senior. He played great Saturday.
He played
very,
very well.
So it's just they're playing as a team. Are they the most athletic team in the SEC? No, but they're played more team ball than anybody.
No, I haven't seen. If you look at it, more than 50% of their baskets are assisted on. It's ridiculous how high that is.
Yeah,
but on top of that, what you were just talking about depth. That's exactly what I saw in that Ole Miss game. Because when they were down.
Yeah.
They were down close to 20 at one point.
They were.
They brought in their bench players. Gregory gets out there. In the first minute he's out there, throws down a dunk and starts the rally that ties it at the end of regulation.
Well, let's talk about Clemson real quick before we have Ricks and Lane on.
Go for it.
Clemson basketball team on a big win streak, if you will, this past week. It came to an end, like Brad said, last night against Virginia. They beat 3 straight ranked teams for the first time in program history.
That's incredible.
Does this team get to the tournament?
A couple weeks ago, I'd say no, but they're sitting 5-2 in the ACC. Right now, I say they will find a way because, after this stretch, they've got Pitt and Florida State.
Yeah.
Wake, Virginia Tech. Those are all games they should win. Granted, some of those on the road, but I don't see why they wouldn't be in the tournament.
It's not just that. Clemson they do have the benefit of playing against ACC schools, and traditionally ACC schools have been ranked higher in the AP polls.
Yeah.
So if they win, if they have 5, 6, 7, 8 losses, they're fine because most of their wins would be against ranked teams. They've had 3 in a row. Did they have any before that?
Against ranked teams?
I
don't think so. They met. I'm trying to think back. ACC play hadn't been going on that long, so I don't think they had.
Well, Clemson also has had a tough non-conference schedule.
Brutal.
So that's
It was
going to help
brutal.
them.
It was brutal, yeah.
That'll help them. I mean, they had losses to South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama. Granted, they're losses, but, I mean, they did still play the game.
They still played very
Minnesota,
well.
yeah.
Clemson played very well against South Carolina. Almost came back to win it.
Should have beat Alabama.
Should have beat Alabama.
Got killed by Georgia.
Yeah,
Go.
That was a rough one.
Yeah, that's a game. It was right after the Carolina game, and more like you'd probably think like a hangover effect kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was right before Christmas, or either right after Christmas. So, those games are always tough, right after exams. So, but still, they shouldn't have lost that bad to Georgia. I mean,
No.
Georgia's good, but they're not anything.
But the fact is they did lose, but it doesn't matter. As long as they do well, I don't think they have to win the regular season ACC. I don't think they have to. I don't think
19 or 20 wins, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't think they have to win the regular season ACC. I don't think they have to win the ACC tournament. If they do as well as they're doing right now, if they keep on pace, they're an at-large, no doubt.
Maybe a couple wins in the ACC tournament. But, that's just how it goes. And if you look at this Clemson team, they cannot afford home losses to teams like Georgia Tech or Boston College or, teams like that. They have to win those games. Pittsburgh at home coming up on the 27th, they have to win that game. They have to beat Pitt at home, I think. Because wins like that in the ACC, it's going to be, Pitt's a good team, but they're not they beat Miami, Duke, Louisville. Why couldn't they beat Pitt at home? That's the thing. If they can win games like that, they will be fine come tournament time. But, still, Alan, looking at the ACC, North Carolina's still at the top as far as standings go. Surprisingly, Virginia Tech's there behind North Carolina. Louisville right there, who me and Cole will be able to see play this weekend against Georgia Tech. Clemson's right there at 4th though. Duke, struggling right now, kind of in the middle of the pack. But, we'll see. I still think North Carolina's the best team in the ACC. Who do you think's the best team in the ACC?
The ACC right now,
Yeah.
it's. Let me see that schedule real quick.
Right now. Yeah, right now. Who do you think is at the top in the ACC?
Obviously, right now North Carolina's on top right now, 16-2. But as for the rest of the year, probably still North Carolina. Virginia Tech does have a good shot. Louisville does as well.
All right, guys, I believe we have our caller connected. Let's see if we can get Rickson Lane on the phone. Rickson, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. How are you doing tonight? I hope you're doing well. A lot of big news lately as of recruiting for the Gamecocks. You cover a lot of Gamecocks down in the Columbia area. I believe the Gamecock Central, you help them out as well. The biggest news lately, obviously, with Muschamp being the new head coach, is all of the recruits he's getting. In fact, I saw where the other day South Carolina has jumped up almost 30 spots in the recruiting poll just since they had Muschamp. What all's gone into that?
I don't think that Will Muschamp is doing anything radically different than what most coaches are doing in the SEC. I think that it really speaks to just the terrible job that the previous staff was doing. I don't think Will Muschamp is breaking any new ground with recruiting. He goes out with his staff. They hit up a lot of high schools. They take a lot of in-home visits, and they get out and they go after kids very actively and very publicly, as we've seen through their efforts on social media. South Carolina hasn't had anything resembling that in ever. Because if you go back to Steve Spurrier, he wasn't the coach that went out and really hammered on the recruiting trail, and he was there for 10, 11 years. And when Lou Holtz was at South Carolina, recruiting was nowhere near what it is right now. This is all brand new for the Gamecock football program. So I hesitate to say, Will Muschamp is just crushing it on the recruiting trail. I think he's doing a really good job, but I don't think he's doing anything that different than most major college football programs right now.
Rickson, when you heard at first that Muschamp was the new guy in Columbia, and 3 months later now, however long it's been, has your mentality or your respect toward him changed at all? Do you have a different idea or a different thought about him being the head coach now than you did when he was hired?
I think you could say that. I didn't think he was necessarily the best choice, in my opinion, and no one from South Carolina really cares what I think about the head coaching hire, but I didn't think he was necessarily the best choice. However, I will say that there's no doubt in my mind that his reputation as a recruiter is well warranted. I think he's proven that with the way he's attacked the recruiting trail since coming to Columbia. And you mentioned the numbers. South Carolina's jumped from somewhere in the 70s in recruiting rankings to up in the low 30s, high 20s during his brief tenure at South Carolina. So I've certainly been impressed with the way he's gone after recruits and what he's sold to them. I'm impressed with the type of staff that he's put together. We had a chance to talk to a lot of those guys a few weeks ago, and I was very impressed talking to them. The big question now is what is going to happen on the field, because no matter how much we talk about Will Muschamp's recruiting abilities and the staff he's putting together, he's still inherited a 3-9 football team. And until the Gamecocks get on the field, I think there's still valid questions to be asked about Will Muschamp's coaching abilities.
Yeah, Ricks and Brad here. The schedule next year is not going to be easy, especially, 5 of their first 6 games are conference games. But my question to you, what is Ellis Johnson's actual role as on the staff, if you know anything about that?
That's $1 million question. From what I was told, was going to be, well, first we were told he was going to be a linebackers coach, and then we heard he was going to be more of a defensive analyst. I think he's been brought on in large part to help with the recruiting aspect of it. I think Ellis Johnson was a very good recruiter at South Carolina. I think linebackers are his forte when it comes to the defense, but he's not listed as the official linebackers coach. I feel like he's going to have sort of a roaming role with this defense and sort of help with whatever they need help with. But I guess that's a very long-winded way of saying I'm not sure what Ellis Johnson's role is going to be with the defense. I just know he's going to have some role with the defense.
Rickson, for South Carolina fans, for Gamecock fans that are passionate about football, what should their expectations be for this upcoming season, and how many should they expect to win?
I think personally that 5-7 would be a great step forward for South Carolina. And, like Brad said, the schedule is very difficult next year for the Gamecocks. And, it's the SEC. The schedule is going to be difficult really no matter what season you're going into. The thing that I think Gamecock fans need to keep in mind is if Will Muschamp goes 5-7 with this football team next season, that is going to be portrayed, in my mind, and maybe I'm completely wrong about this, I feel that's going to be portrayed as, here we go again, Will Muschamp couldn't get the job done in Florida, didn't do a great job at Auburn, and now look what he's doing at South Carolina, losing record in his first season.
I completely agree.
My theory would be if Tom Herman was the head coach of South Carolina and he went 5-7 next year, everyone would talk about what a great job Tom Herman did improving South Carolina. I think that Will Muschamp should get the respect of improving South Carolina if he does next season, because going from 3 wins to 5 wins, is an improvement. And I don't think South Carolina is necessarily talent-wise just a 3-9 team, but your record says you are. So I think a 5-win season would be a solid benchmark for the Gamecocks next year. Anything above that is just gravy, in my opinion.
All right, this is Alan here, and just my question here. A lot of those losses a year ago were lost very, very close. What is going to be the key to getting this team over the hump and getting those extra 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 wins?
If I knew the answer to that, I'd be on staff in Columbia right now. I think that's the question they're all looking for. And, I think a big part of it is confidence. I think that, it sounds redundant, but you have to win a game like that or a few games like that to know down the stretch that you can continue to do it. I mean, guys, look at what South Carolina's men's basketball team has turned into. Look what they did last night when they went to Ole Miss, came back from 11 down with 2.5 to go and won that game in overtime. Now, tell me when the last time a Gamecock men's basketball team won a game like that.
Yeah, I can't tell you. Yeah, it's been a while.
3 or 4 years, that is a 15-point road loss and not an overtime win.
Exactly.
So you've got to win close games to feel like you can go forward. And then once you do that, then you feel like every game is a close game. You know, an 11-point deficit all of a sudden doesn't seem insurmountable. So I think the Gamecocks need to show that they can beat a team in the fourth quarter in a tight ball game, and then you hope, if you're a Gamecock fan, that it spirals from there and the team builds on that confidence boost.
And we talk a lot about how the recruiting's changed so much since Muschamp has got here. As a reporter for them, who do you think is the most important recruit that has come out so far?
It's hard to say anybody other than Brandon McElwain right now, just because they had so many issues at quarterback last year. And, you know, I'm on the record saying, you know, I'm not going to be one to take pot shots at Perry Orth. I mean, I thought he did everything he could have possibly been asked to do. But Perry Orth is not an SEC caliber quarterback. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And with some questions about Lorenzo Nunez and the fact that the offensive coaches last year didn't really seem comfortable with him throwing the football at quarterback, you don't know how healthy Connor Mitch is. It's hard to think anyone will mean more to this team going forward in this particular recruiting class than Brandon McElwain, an Elite 11 quarterback. And I would not be stunned if he winds up being the starter going into next season and winds up starting the opener on the road against Vanderbilt. I think that he could be that kind of player. And, you know, not to say he's going to go out and win a Heisman Trophy, but I think he's certainly good enough to win that job.
Yeah, Rich, and with it being the end of the transition from football for a minute, with it being the end of January and obviously Columbia being a huge baseball town, February coming up, the excitement's always there this time of year. Real quick, what kind of excitement or expectations should Carolina fans be expecting for this year's baseball team? Because, you know, I think being from Columbia personally and knowing a lot about that team, I think they have the chance to really surprise some people this year, especially after coming off a terrible year last year as far as Carolina expectations. So real quick, just give me your thoughts about that.
I don't know what the expectations are going to be necessarily. I know for Chad Holbrook's sake, they better make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Because
you could say that South Carolina is probably one of the 10 premier programs in college baseball, and I don't think that's a stretch. I think that is you've proven that over the past few seasons. You can't go 2 years and not make the NCAA tournament in Columbia. I don't care how close you are with the AD.
Rickson Lane on with us right now. Rickson, one last question before we let you go. We appreciate you coming on. AFC Championship, NFC Championships this Sunday. Who do you like and why?
I like the New England Patriots because even if Tom Brady goes down in that game and say he gets hurt and they bring in Jimmy Garoppolo, Denver's still going to have the worst quarterback on the field. Peyton Manning is atrocious this season, so I like New England in that ball game. And then I like the Panthers against Arizona because I grew up a Panthers fan, and I finally have a reason to say the Panthers are going to win a football game. So I'll say the Panthers will win the football game.
I tell you, I agree with you on your point about Peyton Manning. That was funny. Rickson, we appreciate you coming on. Where can people follow you on Twitter at, and also your website?
You can follow me on Twitter at Rickson Lane, RIXONLANE, and also writing for Gamecock Central and GamecockSerial.com.
Rickson, thanks so much for coming on the show. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
You too. That was Rickson Lane, voice of the Woodruff Wolverines, voice of the Lander Bearcats, voice of much more. Gamecock Central contributor. Like you heard him say, he has a lot going on. We're going to take a quick break, come right back. We'll be back in just a couple of seconds. Not be going long. Then we'll talk a little bit of college baseball with you for just a little while before we transition back to football around the 6:30 mark. But we're going to take a quick break, come right back. You're listening to 95.5 The Vibe. Be sure to follow The Bottom Line on social media. You can like our Facebook page. It's simply called The Bottom Line. You can also follow us on Twitter at TBL Talk Show. That's at TBL Talk Show. You can follow our host, Cole Bryson, at Cole Bryson _ and Brad McGuffin at Brad McGuffin. One more commercial, 35 seconds, so we're back home. Here at 95.5 The Vibe, We strive to provide a Christ-like atmosphere for all of our listeners, whether it's a sports talk show, a morning show, or a Friday morning jam session. We want all of our listeners to know that we represent Jesus Christ in all that we do. You're listening to The Bottom Line on 95.5 FM, WNGR LP.
That's terrible. Here we go.
Welcome back to The Bottom Line here on 95.5 The Vibe FM, WNGR LP. You can find us anywhere in the world at Mixler.com/WNGR. Also on Mixler, the Mixler app. You can find us there. You just go there and type in WNGR. We're having a guest on in 10 minutes, but by the name of Clemson Tom. You may have heard of him. Pretty big personality, pretty popular as well. But real quick, while we have 10 minutes, Brad, let's talk a little college baseball since we're at it. Obviously, like you said, basketball season kind of toward the end of the middle of the season, if you will, with it kind of mid to late January, and basketball season still has a month or so left, but you were talking about South Carolina and baseball a minute ago, Brad, and their expectations. Do you really think this team has come far enough in just 1 year to maybe make a regional and push for a super regional this year?
Oh, easily. With the talent he's brought in from the JUCO ranks, he has really hit that hard since day one of last year's season being ended until all offseason. He hit the JUCO ranks hard. He got some of the best prospects you can get out of the JUCO ranks, and plus with a guy like Mike Wayne coming in, that's also going to help. I mean, he's going to play.
Absolutely.
So, and the support, the fans are always going to be there. It's never easy to win in Columbia. That's always a big thing. I don't see why. I mean, they should be a top 16 team at the end of the year, which means they should host a regional. But then again, it is a long season. The schedule this year is pretty tough. It's not the toughest.
It's always every year.
It's not the hardest they've had in the last couple of years. But then again, they should be in position to host a regional come into the year, and that is the expectation every single year in Columbia. And especially when you play for 3 straight national championships over the past 5 years, you have to have those expectations.
You have to have those expectations, but you also have to realize that South Carolina has not been to the College World Series in 3 years. Since the 2012 one.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And 3 hours and 19 minutes. Now, they're only going to use this pitch clock when there are runners not on base. So, whenever there's a runner on base, they're not going to have the pitch clock. So, I think that'll help speed the game up a little bit. But also, another reason why these games are taking longer is because they're also on TV more. More college baseball games are getting on TV more and more. That's always a big thing. But I want to go back to Clemson real quick. A lot of people are really excited about this Clemson baseball team. And why wouldn't you? You got a guy like Monty Lee coming in who did great things with Father Charleston. Great things. He took them to the NCAA tournament almost every year. And he's a guy that everyone respects because he's a great coach. He loves his kids. Even in Columbia when he coached there under Ray Tanner, the fans loved him. And under Leggett, a lot of Carolina fans obviously didn't like Leggett as much.
It's not
that won't be the case with Monty Lee. Yeah, they don't like Clemson. That's obvious. But you won't feel the hatred toward the coach under Monty Lee like Carolina fans had towards Jack Leggett. Just Monty Lee is a good guy. He's fun to talk to. And so, whereas Jack Leggett was more laid back, not as sociable as a guy like Monty Lee. The players, I think, in Clemson are just going to have a whole new boost behind them under a guy like Monty Lee.
They are, Brad. And you know what? It's going to be fun. But real quick, we're going to take a break. 24,000 followers on Twitter. What led to your popularity among Clemson fans, among College Game Day, and kind of tell us where it all started for you?
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I had just 24 followers. I only knew like 3. I started. I got a Twitter to keep up with fantasy football, and a radio show I would always call in on. They got a Twitter, so they announced it on their radio show. Follow us on Twitter. And I was like, well, I guess I got to get a Twitter. So I got it and followed all the players I had in fantasy football, and just some Clemson stuff, kind of keep up to date. And then I would call into the radio show, and it was just it was Tom's calling in, and I would talk Clemson or talk about the Buccaneers and stuff like that. And so they would always people had like radio nicknames. I didn't know. I just always would call in like, where are you from? Where you calling from? It was Tom, Tampa, whatever. And they always had Brian from St. Petersburg, Steve the lawn jockey was the guy who cut grass out in Tampa. So they just called me Clemson Tom. And so that's where my Twitter name came from, was just Clemson Tom. It had no meaning whatsoever. It was just what they called me on the radio. And then I started doing some stuff with them, and then some guy for ESPN, Trey Wingo, was making fun of Raheem Morris, who was a coach of the Bucs, and was calling him Radio Raheem, and was kind of making fun of Radio, the Clemson fan that they made the movie of that lives up in Anderson, I believe. And so I didn't take a liking to that at all. So I was up in Connecticut looking at some hunt land, and I told them, I was like, guys, I can go by ESPN if you want me to. I think it'd be kind of cool. And Sean King, who was the quarterback for the Bucs for a while, worked at ESPN and kind of let the people know that I was going to come by. So I went up there and I had my earbuds in and looking, kind of like I was not really supposed to hear that, I guess you could say. But I wanted to talk to Trey Wingo. And all this was live on the air. And so they would tweet it out, and Sean being a national, celebrity, I guess you would say, or national, personality. Like, I got a lot of followers from that. And then someone told me I should do YouTube videos because how I act during Clemson games and just, making fun of the different players. So I kind of did, just thinking it would obviously not go anywhere. Because I don't even think I'm that funny. I think I'm witty more than anything. I don't think I'm funny at all. But anyway. And I went to sleep and woke up, and it had like 2,000 views. I'm like, who in the heck watched this? This is the stupidest thing I've ever done. And then it took off, and then I was laughing at the people that got all riled up with it. And people kept saying they want to do more. So I did one for every game, did a post game, and so I started doing prank calls, like prank calling coaches and stuff like that. And it really just took off. And ESPN kind of heard about it, and they had me on game day 2 or 3 times, and then. They kind of, ESPN will message me on Facebook and, ask my opinion on certain things, or, what's this mean, or, just different things like that, like with the distance from Glendale, Arizona to Death Valley was at 1981 miles. And depending on how you routed that day and everything, it just changed around. But it ironically, it was 1981. So there's different things like that, and, they'll have me on, and, they'll use me as a way to kind of, either hype Clemson or just make fun of Dabo dancing and just like different things like that. So it's really taken off. And then guys like you will reach out to me on Twitter and ask me to come on their show. So during football season, I'm calling shows all over the country. I mean, it's nothing for me to be on a show in Houston talking about Nuke Hopkins, to Buffalo, New York, talking about Sammy Watkins, and Seattle talking about just college football in general, because they don't get a lot of the Southeastern stuff, and they hate the SEC in the Northwest, which is great because, everyone else that fears God and pays taxes hates the SEC, except for if you're in it. So that was really it.
Well, Clemson Tom, the funniest thing for me on your Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that is not what the videos you do, but it's the followers that are actually Gamecock fans that give you so much heck. I would say that the majority of your fans may be Gamecock fans, and I tell you, I love seeing the battles that go on Twitter and stuff, because you know what, regardless of what Clemson's doing, they're following it, whether or not, if they admit it or not, and they love it.
It's crazy. And I've actually met some of them, and they're like, hey, I'm, at Rude Gamecock 34. And in my head, I'm like, there's been times I've contemplated driving to your house to punch you. And they're like, you cracked me up. And I'm thinking, like, 3 months ago, you told me you wanted to, break into my car and steal my car. Just random things. Like, oh, man, it's just Twitter, it's for fun. So that actually took me a while to kind of get used to, like, people being, internet tough guys on Twitter. And then you see them, and I guess they see me and it's like the persona of what they thought I was, or actually who I am, is completely different. You know, online you kind of you kick up the dust a little bit, put a little stick of vinegar on it if you want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people laugh like, man, you're not what I thought you were. I'm like, I don't know what you really expected, you know.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Clemson, Tom Brad here. Last year, Clemson lost a lot on defense, and the questions came up. This year, Clemson loses a lot on defense, and the questions will come up. Next year, Clemson's offense may be the best it's ever been, with what's returning, what's coming in. Defensively, Brent Venables is, if not, he probably is the best defense coordinator in the country. What is he going to have to do next year to have the same type of defense he's had these last 2 years?
Well, the good thing is we do have some defensive linemen that got redshirted, and guys we rotated in that you never really saw because of they get overshadowed. Kind of like with our wide receiving core. You know, if you'd asked me 3 years ago if I thought Martavius Bryant would be a dominant wide receiver in the NFL, I'd be like, no, he can't catch a simple out route by touch. But he's overshadowed by Sammy and by Nuke, and things like that happen. So you don't really see the star that they really could be. And so our defensive line, we've got some playmakers on our D line. Like, just like how it was last year, I had more questions coming into this year than I do for next year. And then with our secondary, we had a kid just transfer, which gives a gentleman an opportunity to kind of come in and showcase his talents. But we've recruited really, really well, and we've done it with the right guys that fit our system. And we have a kid out of North Carolina. Goodness gracious, safety. It's slipping my mind. I cannot remember his name. But he's going to come in, and he just loves contact. He's like, imagine if Ben Boulware played safety and you gave him speed. That would be this guy. I cannot think of his name for my life, but he's from North Carolina. He plays safety, and it's going to drive me nuts. I'll tweet you at like 2 a.m. when it hits me. And he plays great, though.
Clemson, Tom, what should expectations be for Clemson fans coming into this year, coming off of a loss to the national championship? What should their expectations be? You know, how many games should they think they're going to win this year?
I think we're going to win them all. I mean, honestly, if our defense goes and Coach Venables gets the playmakers the good thing with him is he puts them in the right opportunities that makes them great. He doesn't make a slow defensive tackle coming on a blitz. He'll make them, stop the gas. He makes whatever you do really well at, that's what he makes you do. And I think that's why we do really well on defense. But looking at the schedule, at Florida State's going to be tough. Obviously, that's going to be our big one. I don't really see us losing any other game other than, that's the only one I'm like, okay, we could lose that. If we lose it, you can't really be upset because they recruit just as well and they're coached just as well. If we win that, we're going to win the ACC. And then the playoff is the playoff. You don't know who you're really going to face. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was us and Alabama in a rematch, down here in Tampa.
All right, Clemson Tom, this is Alan here. And I've said it time and time again, and I don't hide it. I am an avid Gamecock supporter, but I will show some credit where credit is due. Clemson had an amazing year. And one thing that really stood out to me was how much the quote-unquote little guys helped out. Hunter Renfrow came out of nowhere and provided so much output. Who do you think's going to be the next just diamond in the rough?
Well, see, to me, Hunter Renfrow didn't really come out of to me, it was just, he's going to showcase his ability.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to people that don't really follow it, didn't know about him.
I know Hunter. I know Hunter personally, and I honestly didn't expect him to be that much of a weapon out there.
I didn't think he would be that fast. I'll give you that, but I knew he had the hands. I knew he had the ability. Honestly, Deshaun could make me an All-American wide receiver at this point, and I'm slow. So that might want to give a little bit of credit to Deshaun. I think the tight ends is something you're going to need to look on, and wide receiver core, it could really be anybody. Really, that's a hot hand. I mean, you can't double team, Mike Williams all the time because Hunter's going to come through. Deion Kane's going to come. Ray McLeod. The guy that's probably going to need, I would say, the running back positions because we have so many weapons back there. I really want to see what we can do if we can. Wayne Gallman silently averaged a little over 100 yards a game, and no one really talks about that. And that goes back to just having playmakers all over the place. We can't talk about every single player. But the one you really, really, really need to keep your eye out for is our left tackle, which is Mitch Hyatt. He is he's dominating. He's basically protecting Deshaun's blind side. So watching him and seeing his growth and see how much improved he is, and him taking that leadership position on the offensive line is going to be something that no one's really going to talk about, because it's not, no one will talk about the left tackle. Everyone will talk about the quarterback or the wide receivers. So I think he's going to be the type of playmaker you really want to see, really take on that leadership role in the offensive line.
Clemson Tom, we appreciate you coming on. Before we let you go, real quick, AFC Championship, NFC Championship this Sunday. Who do you like and why?
Ooh, I like the Panthers because it's the Panthers. I don't really see them losing. And I got New England going down to Denver and just taking over.
Finally,
Peyton
something a
just-
Gamecock
Peyton-
and a Tiger can agree on.
Yeah, Peyton's just he's not doing it. I watched a lot of film on Peyton in the last game. He's missing a lot of the open receivers that he's checking down. I think something's wrong with his shoulder. I don't think he has the power to connect anymore. And,
Yeah.
And New England is going to expose that. And I don't see the New England Denver game being anything. The Carolina game obviously is going to be the game to watch because both teams are pretty evenly matched.
We appreciate you coming on. We look forward to hearing from you soon. And go Tigers. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Tom.
sir. Go Tigers. Bye.
That was Clemson Tom coming on the show with us. So that'll be now 2 guests that we've had on. And you know what? 2 pretty good interviews, guys. As we've had Rickson Lane and Clemson Tom on with us tonight. It's fun to talk about football season. With it being the off season, I just don't want it to go away.
I don't either. I mean, I'm already ready for spring practice. Like, I'm ready. Like, believe it or not, it'll be here quicker than we know it. Like, it's January now. In into March they'll start. Getting ready for spring practice. April comes, then we have the summer.
Yeah.
And August gets here.
Yeah, we just need to hurry up and get there.
Because we're not
I love it.
gonna have a lot of excitement in the Braves this year. So football season.
Really?
Football
Oh,
season this summer.
What was that?
This summer is going to be a long summer waiting
No
for football.
Oh yeah, those off-season trades and Kelly Johnson with his 3rd stint in Atlanta. When are we trading him again?
It's all right. The future's bright for Atlanta.
All right, let's
Yeah,
take
in like 7 years.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. Come back. We'll wrap up with a little bit NBA talk, and we'd like to take your calls as well at 895-4647. That's 864-895-4647. You're listening to 95.5 The Vibe. You're listening to The Bottom Line on 95.5 FM in Tigerville, also on the Mixlr app or on Mixlr.com/WNGR. This is The Bottom Line with Cole Bryson and Brad McGuffin. All right, we're back here live on 95.5 FM, The Vibe, WNGR LP, 95.5 in Tigerville and surrounding areas. Also, you can listen to us anywhere in the world at Mixlr.com/WNGR, also on the Mixlr app. Just go to that app and type in WNGR. You can find us there. All right, guys, I don't know, how much y'all like the NBA. I know Brad watches a little bit. Alan, I don't know about you. If y'all
I
follow
love the NBA.
if y'all follow the NBA, but I love it. And it's a really not a popular time for the NBA.
No, not at all.
It's late January. Nothing's really going on big in the NBA news. But you know what? I don't care. We're going to talk about it anyways, just because I love it. You know what? It's just fun to talk about, in my opinion. Who's your favorite team, Alan?
Oklahoma City.
Okay. Brad, do you have a favorite team in the NBA?
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, when the Celtics had all those guys from South Carolina, they were fun to watch.
It's
But-
fun seeing South Carolina boys
Yeah.
make it to the NBA because, truth be told, South Carolina is not known as a very good basketball place to
Yeah.
get talent out of, but it's still a really, really exciting sport to watch.
Well, we talked about the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference back when right before the season started, I believe, and we gave our favorites, if you will. Real quick, in the East, do y'all see anybody competing with the Cavaliers, or you think that they're pretty much going to ride this one out to the end?
Yeah, like I said, I at the beginning of the year, I had a feeling they'd be the only team that can really dominate the East.
It's their thing.
I mean, Chicago, maybe. I mean, I don't think at the end of the year. I mean, they're sitting at 24-16 right now. That's good. But the Cavs are the best team in the East.
The Cavs are the best team in the East, but if we're talking straight up matchups, can a team win 4 out of 7?
Yeah.
Against the team, it's 2 through 4 right now have a good shot. Toronto's been pretty decent lately. Chicago they've had they've been able to keep up with Cleveland. And Atlanta, they haven't looked that bad.
So do you think that Toronto or Chicago or Atlanta or even Miami could win 3 out of 4 against Cleveland?
Well, if you're looking at it right now, where it's set up, how the playoff would work, they could beat Boston easily. But if you're saying they're going to end up playing Toronto or Chicago
Yeah.
in the second or third round, they can do it.
All right, what about the Western Conference?
Out in the West,
But if the Cavs play as bad as they did the other night, anybody can beat them.
Right. But
Oh,
what
yeah.
about the Western Conference?
well, Golden State, obviously the team to beat.
Yeah.
They seem to be.
After demolishing Cleveland, like Brad said.
Yeah, they just tore them apart. It wasn't even close. But San Antonio, they've been extremely good at home.
Yeah.
Have they lost at home yet? Or are they still undefeated?
At home, they are undefeated. They're 24-0.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah, they broke the franchise record, and they're trying to break the NBA record.
And Golden State's undefeated at home, too.
Yeah, that's not to be lost in this. San Antonio's just played more home games.
Oh, yeah,
That's
right.
all it is. But San Antonio holds up. Oklahoma City, as long as both Westbrook and Durant are healthy, they can beat anybody.
I think I don't know that they can beat the top. When you look at the standings right now, obviously Golden State and San Antonio 1 and 2.
Okay, but
with,
I want you to realize Durant is on track to have a 50, 80, 90 season.
right.
That's incredible.
I want you to realize when you play Golden State
Okay.
in the playoffs, if Steph Curry's on 2 out of 3 games,
I know.
you're not looking good.
I'm well aware.
In the playoffs, in a 7-game series, it's hard not to pick Popovich.
Okay.
And they're Duncan and Spurs.
I agree a little bit.
There's that, but I want you to realize. Let's go back to the NBA Finals last year.
Yeah, knocked out first round.
This past season when they went to the finals. I'm talking about Golden State.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about San Antonio.
My bad. But let's go back real quick. If game 1 of the NBA Finals, you have Kyrie Irving, Cleveland does not close it out in regulation, fractures his kneecap in the overtime, end up losing to
Yeah.
Golden State. Can you tell me Golden State would have then won 3 more games if Kyrie Irving had been healthy?
I don't know that they would have.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think Cleveland wins last year if he's healthy, but they didn't. I mean,
But you
the
know
Cavs,
what?
the Warriors earned that championship.
I think the Warriors are better this year than they were last year.
And I think Cleveland is just as good as they were a
I
year ago.
disagree. I don't think they are.
They have more pieces.
I don't know that they have. When you match up the two teams, if you look at Cleveland and Golden State, I don't know that Cleveland has near as much depth as Golden State.
No, they
has.
don't. That's not even close.
So I just don't know in a
But
7-game series.
Cleveland has LeBron James.
They do,
That's the
yeah.
problem. Might have the most depth of anyone in the NBA.
and that's why they're my pick right now of the West. I just don't see.
No, Golden State's mine still.
They're gonna unless something crazy happens, they're gonna be playing each other in the Western Conference Finals,
yeah.
and Cleveland should win the East
But
because
The way-
they should.
going back to what we said was set up a second ago, Golden State right now would have to play the Jazz. That's not even competition. San Antonio would have to play Houston. That's a little tougher. Oklahoma City would play Dallas right now, actually.
Oh god.
And then the Clippers would play Memphis.
Yeah. But we will talk about it a little more once the season actually starts to matter. And real quick, NFC Championship this week, AFC Championship Sunday. We've had Rickson Lane and Clemson Tom on as guests in this segment. In this show, in tonight's show, if you will.
Yep.
Who do y'all like quickly in the AFC Championship?
Well, if I'm giving my honest opinion, New England's pretty much has it in hand. But my dad is a huge fan of the Denver Broncos, and I will pick for his sake, Denver.
I just can't go against Brady. As much as I want Denver to win, I'm not a Patriots fan. You can't go against Brady in the playoffs. He wins.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Denver keeping it close. Denver's defense is good.
That's
they're-
the thing.
I think they're really going to have to expose the offensive line for New England. Because last week when New England played Kansas City,
They didn't play that well.
they didn't. But the thing about it is New England's offensive line is so beat up right now. There's a lot of – I think there's 2 starters playing.
I think you're right.
a team has got to expose that. Somebody's got to bring a blitz and expose that, and
and they will.
get Brady rattled. But Kansas City didn't at all. And when I saw that, I'm thinking, okay, you got to expose something, and you can't expose the quarterback because he's the best there is in the league.
Yeah, maybe the best of the last 30 years.
I don't know that you can expose him. I don't know that you can expose Gronk as big and as good as he is.
You pretty much just have to look. If you're going to beat New England, you have to do exactly what happened the last couple weeks of the regular season and do what those teams did.
Yeah. But you have to remember, Denver's already beat them at home.
Yes.
Denver has, and
Yes.
Denver. So I think I give Peyton a chance. If Denver won, I wouldn't be really, really surprised. I'd be a little bit surprised, but I think Tom Brady will pull it off, especially if the Patriots can get a little bit of a lead. I think it's just no chance that Denver will come back. But they looked pretty good last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, in my opinion, just didn't have enough offensive firepower to compete.
Which is a lot to say because they arguably have 3 number 1 receivers on that squad.
Yeah, just a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
In the NFC, Carolina and Arizona, maybe a little more competitive game, kind of like Clemson Tom said.
It'll be a lot closer.
Who do y'all have in this one?
Well, we are in South Carolina. The Carolina Panthers, they've done very, very well. This is the best season they've had since they went to the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what, 12 years ago now?
2003.
Yeah, 13 years ago. So, this is the best season they've had. The only thing is, the Arizona Cardinals are probably the toughest competition they've played all season. That's it. I still think Carolina pulls it out, but it will be the hardest game they've played all year.
Those who listen know we're not. But we don't like the Carolina Panthers.
No, I'm not a Panthers fan either.
I think they find a way to win, like you said. But I also agree, this is going to be one of their toughest teams they've had to play because Carson Palmer might be one of the best quarterbacks they've had to face in a while.
He's by far the most underrated quarterback in the NFL.
And then Larry Fitzgerald is going to be matched up with Josh Norman. We all know that.
Probably the best corner in the NFL right now.
I would not be surprised if Arizona wins.
Not at all.
But at home, as much as I hate to say it, it's hard to pick against Carolina. And that's why I'm going to go with Carolina, but go Cardinals.
And you know what? I agree. When you look at the two teams and the matchups, I think one thing that a lot of people just aren't talking about is that Carolina's offense, if they're clicking like they were last week in the first half, they'll give that defense fits. And
but you cannot allow the defense to slack off and have what happened in the second half happen.
See, I hope that's how they play the whole game, but we probably won't get that.
Well, I mean, I'm just happy my team had a playoff game to begin with.
Aren't you special?
Let's be real. Somebody's team didn't.
Yeah, no kidding. Mm-hmm. 2 of us actually.
Yeah,
that's pretty
2
bad.
of it. Yeah, well, hey, we'll both hit that next year.
Hopefully.
So, unlike that thing.
Oh, speaking of which, I just saw some news. Trent Williams from the Washington Redskins has pulled out of the Pro Bowl due to lingering injuries, leaving the NFC East champion Washington Redskins with 0 representation in the Pro Bowl.
Oh, isn't that terrible?
I'm sorry.
I'm just being. I'm not even joking. I'm being serious.
I don't feel bad at all, man. If it was somebody else, maybe I'd care.
He's a tackle.
Yeah. Real quick, as we have just a couple minutes left, who would you take, Alan, if you're Tennessee with the number 1 pick?
Ooh, that's a hard one. You don't need a quarterback. You've already done that twice.
Cleveland? No, Tennessee. Sorry.
They need protection.
They do need protection,
but it's hard to go against a guy like Treadwell sitting right there.
Yeah, that's who I'm
needs
thinking.
weapons to throw the ball to.
I don't know that they would pick Treadwell over Bosa.
You need, but Laramie Tunsil's up there too. You need protection on the offense.
Yep, that's it.
Well,
in that terrible division, which I'm a Colts fan, that division is terrible. If you have offensive weapons, you can win games.
Yeah, they might shock people. They can get a very good receiver out of someone they're not expecting.
Yeah, as bad as that organization is as a whole from bottom to top.
Oh, it's pretty bad.
I don't think they'll pick.
They have 2 possibly top tier quarterbacks.
Right.
But they don't use them efficiently. That's it.
Yeah. They're projected. The big projections are them getting Bosa, but like Brad said, they need help, on the line, and they gave up more sacks than anybody last year in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Joey Bosa really isn't going to help you give up less sacks.
Yeah, protect the quarterback. It's not going to help you much.
My team, obviously with the 4th round pick, I would hope Treadwell's still there 4th.
You mean the 4th pick?
That's what I said.
It's the 4th round.
Fourth pick. fourth pick.
With Treadwell on one side, definitely.
You can't not take Treadwell. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you know, our organization, our owner, we might take a punter in the fourth pick.
I wouldn't be.
I wouldn't be
You're
very
gonna
surprised.
back up
placeholder.
quarterback maybe later in the draft
get a
would be
place-
helpful.
I'll be honest with you. I think RG3 heads out there.
I hope not. Keep him over there.
Johnny.
No, I want him out of my
Johnny,
team.
I want him
Johnny
in Dallas.
Manziel might end up there.
I don't think he will. I don't think either one will.
He's leaving Cleveland. There's no doubt in my mind.
I would
he's
like
gonna
North
leave.
Dakota State's quarterback.
No, Jared Goff. No.
Oh,
Jared
yeah,
Goff.
he's
No,
good. Carson
California.
Wentz?
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, he's a special player.
Carson Lynch could be good.
He can't run. He can't scramble. But
He can scramble. This year he had a broken ankle. I watched him play a lot last year. He's a guy that can get out of the pocket and make some plays. He's not a 4-2 runner, but he's quick enough to make some plays and get out of
You can
bounds.
get Carson Lynch would be a good one.
sorry.
Jared Goff out of California.
Yeah.
That would also be a very good
Well,
one.
he's going top 10.
He's going top 10 no matter what.
Maybe upper top 10.
Don't be surprised if Tennessee takes him.
I wouldn't. Just 3 quarterbacks. Hopefully
crazy.
somebody does something.
I mean, they could get Johnny. I mean, Johnny's the man.
All right, you listen to the Bottom Line on 95.5 FM here in Tigerville. Tune in Monday. We'll be back 95.5 WNGR LP on Mixler.com/WNGR. Also on the Mixler app.